We're transitioning into functions of mass communication. Manifest functions and latent functions are easily confused, so make sure that you refer back to this slide whenever you are taking your first quiz. So manifest functions are the purposeful outcomes a source pursues. So if it is my intention, if I'm a news broadcaster and I am reporting the news on, oh, there's so many things to report news on right now. How do I pick just one? If I'm reporting the news on the war in Gaza, the Israel-Gaza conflict, then my the purposeful outcome for the audience then would be to be informed about the conflict in Gaza. The latent functions are unintentional consequences associated with the outcome. So as a broadcaster talking about the war in Gaza, then I might not intend my audience to take away a disliking for any country in particular, but that might be an unintentional consequence associated with the outcome, that is, there is a conflict in Gaza. A less newsy one. Let's do an example of an advertisement. As an advertiser, let's say I'm a marketing professional for Nike, and my goal is to reach female athletes I was going to make it more narrow, but let's just say female athletes. I'm trying to sell the Nike brand to female athletes. The purposeful outcome would be for the audience member, female athletes in particular, to buy the product. Latent functions might be something totally different, not buying the product related, but maybe the advertisement itself was offensive in a variety of contexts, or maybe it highlighted unrealistic body expectations and made some media consumers feel negatively about their own bodies. Those are just a couple examples. I'm sure you can think of other ones. In fact, you'll have to on some of your homework assignments. So manifest functions are purposeful outcomes, and then latent functions are unintentional outcomes. Then we have functions versus dysfunctions. Functions are media positively impacts or stabilizes our social system. So if you think about, and I'm using recent examples, so the Pope recently died, and there has since been a new Pope appointed by the other, I can't remember the name of that right now, but there has been a new Pope appointed by the systems in place. So there's been a lot of news coverage about that. The cultural transmission or correlation of parts of society. I should have used that example earlier in our earlier video. So most of the coverage around that has been functional in that it does positively impact or stabilizes a social system in a somewhat uncertain time or maybe unstable time. And therefore dysfunctions serve the opposite. So dysfunction happens when media negatively impacts or destabilizes society or our social system. So anytime that you see conflict in the news, for example, and this is not a political thing, this is an example of a dysfunctional media that negatively impacts or destabilizes a social system, was the conflict in the White House between the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and the US President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. that was something that was somewhat destabilizing and caused a lot of, I don't know if sensationalism would be the right word, but it didn't stabilize our social system or positively impact our social system. Kind of chaotic. So you'll also have to think about these not examples, but these concepts in your homework coming up. So that was a lot of information. This concludes your unit 1. You still need to watch the recordings of unit 2, and then I'll touch base in a different video.